All right, guys, out here at the range today, I got my buddy Taylor. He is actually active duty military, so I'm gonna go ahead and let him introduce himself, but I actually asked him to come out today and bring his fighting load and just go over his setup and the reasons he set it up the way he did. So if you don't mind, Taylor, just giving him a little brief background and then kind of just going over your loadout and going over the reasons why you chose them.
My name's Taylor, done 3 years in the Navy so far, gone to the VBSS schools, on the VBSS team.
Awesome. How long have you been shooting, taking it serious-wise?
Serious-wise, probably like 5-ish years, 5-6 years.
Right on, sounds good. I just started back in 2020 and I've just kind of been going down the rabbit hole. I started off competitive shooting, but now I'm into the defensive shooting and tactics and setting up my kit for real life scenarios. So I just want to say thanks again for coming out here today. And if however you'd like to go over what items first and also the reasons you chose them, if you don't mind.
Perfect.
Awesome.
All this kit is not what gets used at work. This is all personal, civilian owned. So starting with the rifle, I have a Surefire Warden. Personally, I just bought that because I have all this expensive equipment out at the end where any carbon backlash is going to basically put films over all the lenses and corrode those over time. If you can't get a suppressor on the end, try and find a way to prevent that carbon buildup from getting on your lights, your lasers, all that, because at the end of the day, it's just going to ruin equipment that you spent hundreds of dollars on, and you don't want that. Moving back, I guess the whole upper that all of this stuff is mounted on is a Daniel Defense Mark 18 upper, so a 10-3. The laser I have on it is a full power PEC. Pretty hard to find on the civilian side, but you can find them and they're worth every penny. They were used in the War on Terror for a reason. They hold up under a lot of stress, a lot of getting beat up. On the other side, I have a mod light. I used to run a Surefire light, switched over to a mod light and have had zero issues with it. I have both the light and the laser hooked up to I believe it's an Avon Unity switch. So I have a white light switch on the front where I can do momentary light, or I can hard press it and the light will stay on. What I like about it is it's not flat with the laser switch, right? Because I'm gonna probably use a laser more than a white light. If I'm using a white light, it's gonna be for a deliberate reason, and I don't wanna ever accidentally hit that white light. So having your white light pressure pad at a different angle kind of helps from that accidental discharge of that white light. And then directly connected to it is my PEC push pad. I've had zero issues with it. What's really nice is this is the GBRS model of it. So I believe you can get it in a 10-inch cable length and a 14-inch cable length. They did that because of their mount that they created. Is what it is, and some people like to move that laser back. I like to have options, so you can always work your cable management like how I have it here and tuck those cables away and keep it nice and clean. And if I ever wanted to move that laser back, I have the cable length to do it without going out and purchasing another cable. Moving back from there, I have my Faro Slingster, have the quick connects on there. And then I just have the sling silencers on there to keep this metal from making too much noise and giving away your position. For my foregrip, I have the Troy foregrip. What I like about it is it's extendable. So when you buy it, it comes with a few pieces. You can screw them in, make it as long as you want, as short as you want. I like to just run it shorter. I prefer a broomstick style foregrip compared to like an angle foregrip, just because I'm able to get a better purchase. I still do a C-clamp. I don't grip it like a pistol grip, but I find that with angle grips, especially when I got push pads and all this stuff on here, it just makes my grip too wide and I don't feel like I have a good enough purchase on it. So this still gives me that leverage that I need. Also, there's the argument of when you enter a room or you have to break a window or glass or anything, being able to grab something like this compared to an angle foregrip and get that leverage to break whatever you need to break helps a lot. Moving back further on the upper, I have an EOTech EXPS 2.2. It has the ring with 2 dots in the center that gives you a 50-meter zero, 200-meter zero, and a 7-yard zero at the bottom of the ring. Have it sitting on a Unity riser. And then behind it, I have the Unity magnifier mount with a EOTech G33 magnifier. It's their older 3x magnifier. I find that 3x is enough. I've ran everything from LPVOs to ACOGs, and I've just found that LPVOs, I never was adjusting them up and down enough to make it worth it. I pretty much had it set, which I evolved into an ACOG and realized I only needed one rifle to really train with and learn. So I gave myself the option here where I have a dot where I can do my close in shooting, and then I can flip it up and have fixed magnification with a magnifier. This Unity riser, it flips straight up and down. So no flipping to the side, getting in the way. I think that works for certain people, but for me, I just saw it as a snag hazard, having something hanging off the side of the gun. I like to keep my gun as streamlined front to back as I can, just because you switch hands, you sling your rifle to your back if you got to climb something or do whatever, and having it go straight up and down keeps everything in line perfect. The rest of the gun, mil spec lowers, nothing special with it. Control wise, I've made everything ambidextrous because I am a left-handed shooter. The ambi safety, the ambi mag release, the ambi bolt catch, and then for the trigger is a Geisley SSE 2-stage trigger. I believe it's like 3.5 pounds. I used to use a single stage trigger, which it was nice because any trigger pull you did was meaning the gun was going to go off. I've just found that when I used to run 2 rifles, I had a 2-stage on my precision rifle and I had a single stage on my short barrel CQB style. I just found that it's easier to train with the same trigger across all platforms, and the Geisley SSE is an amazing trigger, so I just run it on everything, and it kind of keeps everything mil spec. So no matter what rifle gets thrown in your hands and you've trained to it and you know it and you understand it. So single stages have their time and place, but I find that 2 stages are usually better when it comes to keeping everything universal. There is something to say for like the control factor too of controlling your shots. Moving down, I have the HRF Magwell. I like it just because it just clears up your mind space a little bit more when you're going for a reload, and if it's dark or if you don't want to take your eyes off the target. Trying to hunt down a Magwell in stress is nothing you want to do, so just helps alleviate any accidents from happening. Moving further back, I just have the BCM pistol grip on there. I chose this one because it's more of a 90-degree angle with the gun. I find that slanted grips don't allow people to get a good enough purchase on it. Some people can, I just wasn't able to. So being able to get a more full purchase, I guess I should say, and have better trigger control was a major benefit to me. But moving back, I have the Law folder on here. Basically just allows me to make this whole thing a little more compact if I'm traveling with it or for whatever reason. Really, its only purpose is to make your rifle more compact for storage. And then back from there, I just run a B5 stock. I like the thicker cheek placement for it. I feel like I get a better cheek well on it, better purchase. Doesn't feel like it's just a little skinny piece of plastic on there. It's pretty sturdy. And then back here, the rubber is really comfortable when it comes to shooting all day or just absorbing that recoil. So that's it for the rifle. We'll go ahead and move on to the plate carrier. For my plate carrier, I decided to run with the Faro Concepts FCPC V5. I found that it's the most comfortable. I've ran everything from Spiritus, LV119, the JPCs, FCPCs, Slicksters. If it's out there, I probably owned it at some point. I've just found that the FCPC fits better when it comes to my shoulder placement, just because of its ability to kind of pivot with this ring here, move with the Cobra buckle on the other side. I just find this carrier to be extremely comfortable, as well as modular. This plate carrier can be scaled all the way up into an absolute unit of a loadout to super slick in a matter of minutes. They have so many components that can go with this to fit any mission set that you have. Starting on the components, down below, this is a Hadley Fabrications dangler. In here, I usually just keep medical supplies. I'm a big component for, you're gonna make holes, then you better be able to stop them. Pretty much my whole carrier is making holes and stopping holes. So that's usually what gets ran in here. Maybe some kind of admin, pens, pencils, notebook in the front part. Moving up, my placard, it's the Faro Qatar. In it, these are the magazines I prefer to run. I usually run black PMags for training purposes, but for all of my, like, I guess game day stuff hits the fan reasons, I prefer to use the tan window mags. I just keep tan ones, so visually real quick I know, but anything with a window is usually what I'm keeping off to the side and not abusing. On there I have the Terran Tactical, I think it's +5 base plates. Moving on from there, I just have a Faro admin pouch. I found these to be the best for me just because they have a taper to them where it keeps the admin pouch away from the magazines and it doesn't hang so much over. So each one of these magazines I can get a clear purchase coming over the top, and I'm not trying to defeat an admin pouch that's getting in the way. Moving up, Faro does have a built-in little admin pocket up top that I enjoy, but it's Velcro. Velcro's loud, doesn't do too well when it gets wet. So I put in the Axle FCPC zipper, which allows you to just Velcro in this little zipper system, and then it turns this upper admin spot into zipper accessible admin spot. And in here, I just keep some Leatherman trauma shears. These are super strong. I've seen people cut like sheet metal with them. Trauma shears are always nice to keep on you, especially if you're a person that carries flex cuffs. It's nice to just have a pair of trauma shears to cut those off, and never safe to use a knife when you're cutting flex cuffs off of someone. Moving on to, we'll go to the right side. I chose to go with the First Spear tubes. I ran the Cobra buckles before. I got these primarily just to try something different. I haven't found any like true benefit to these over the Cobra buckles, but I also haven't found any like negatives. At the end of the day, it's just a quick don and doff system for your cummerbund. So if you prefer to buckle something in, run the Cobra buckles. If you prefer tubes, run the tubes. I haven't had any issues, but I have heard issues of guys getting the tubes dirty and the sand doesn't allow it to click into place, and then the tubes popping open. Also, these are plastic compared to where the Cobra buckle's metal, so the metal ones are probably more durable. I just haven't ran into any issues, so there's been no reason for me to go back to the Cobra buckles. For now, that's what I'm running on there. And then to the side, this is another Hadley Fabrications small GP pouch. This I usually keep empty. Don't have any other reason, but if I do come across something out there that I want to store, take with me, whatever it is, whatever the situation dictates, it's always nice to have an empty pouch that you can store that stuff in. And when I'm not running this thing squishes against the side. It's not in the way. The weight isn't anything detrimental to my mobility factor either. Moving back from there, this is a Lone Skull Designs. It's one of his rifle pouches. I run this in the back. I know it's kind of a new thing and something I'm trying out, but not every mag is for a speed reload. Some mags you just have to store on your person that you can access when you start running dry. Probably most mag changeouts aren't going to be in an emergency situation. You're going to be able to get to cover, grab a magazine and reload it. So with that in mind, having a magazine in the back that's upside down with the bungee on it, this thing isn't going anywhere. But when I get that time to take a second, grab a magazine that's a little more inaccessible than the ones on my front, but I'm not using the mags on my front because I do want to have that emergency option, I can just reach back, pop the bungee, beer can grip it, and pull it out, reload my rifle, and keep going. In retrospect, there's nothing else back here that you could put and you would be able to access it without the help of somebody else. This I can access on my own, don't need anybody, and it utilizes the molly space on the back of the cummerbund. Going to the other side over here, I just run a Hogue knife, nothing special. I think I got it super cheap. If you're gonna use your knives a lot, then I wouldn't recommend getting super expensive ones unless you come across them. Obviously there is something to say with price and durability and how they hold their edge and all that, but like I said, this is a tool. This isn't used for filleting fish, so you don't want to go too cheap because then you'll use it and it'll break. Just do your research, find a good knife, and throw it on your kit. And then the way I have it mounted on here, I know everybody makes an attachment that you can buy and slip on there, which I guess is nice, but I like to run these wings in the back. And at some point you start stacking too much stuff behind the placard, and now your placard's like 2 inches off your chest, and it's just way too much. So for this knife, I've just taken the sheath, attached Velcro to the front and back of the sheath, and then when you attach these tubes or the Cobra buckle, the way you do it is you fold the ferro cummerbund back on itself, and I'm able to take this sheath and just tuck it in between that fold, and it does exactly the same thing as buying that attachment's gonna do. Keeps it in the same exact spot. I can save that $15 and go purchase something else or buy ammo to train or whatever it is. Trying to find little ways to adapt your kit without just spending money on it is always the best. And then for side plates, I just run the Ferro side plate bags, 6x6. I think everybody should run side plates. They don't weigh anything compared to the cost of getting shot in the side. The reality of it is plates are super small on your chest. The chances of getting hit somewhere else on your body are way higher than getting a direct hit in the plates. So the more plate that you add onto your body, you raise that chance up of protecting yourself from getting shot. I understand people don't want to run side plates because it makes the sides bulky, maybe the weight factor, but at the end of the day, you should always be training to be stronger if you're going to be using this stuff, or you should be training in the kit to learn how to work around that bulk when it's a necessity thing. I mean, it's a life-saving piece of equipment. Unless you're directly facing the person head on, usually you're gonna get popped in the side. I mean, anybody that does CQB and you enter a room and you go take that corner, there could be somebody on the other side of the room shooting at you, and all that they have to see of you is your side because you're heading towards a corner. So side plates definitely are a need. You should get them. 6x6 at the absolute minimum, and then go from there. Side plates will save your life. Moving back from there, I just have the Ferro radio pouch for my 152, or I guess you could throw bale fangs in there, but I moved this to the back of my cummerbund again. Used to run it on the front, found that the antenna, the wires, all of that would just get in the way, so moved it to the back. And I mean, for one, you're gonna set a channel and you're gonna run off that frequency. You shouldn't have to adjust it. But if you do, I do have the KDU for the 152 that I can attach to the radio and operate my frequencies from there. But you shouldn't have any reason to ever really change those frequencies unless you have to talk to airplanes or something. Moving on to the back of the carrier, I currently on here right now have the Ferro, the 2-pouch zip-on panel. I also have the banger panel. I just don't have flashbangs or concussion grenades that I use that often, so 2 big pouches is plenty for me, and I'll usually run my night vision back here in a pouch if I'm gonna take it with me. But again, sometimes it's nice to just have an empty pouch where before you go out you can throw water bottles, you can throw maps, GPS stuff, whatever you're gonna take, whatever you're going out to go do. Those pouches, rather than like having a fully built kit where you've already stuffed all the pouches, having a pouch or two that's empty, where now you can be like, okay, well now we're gonna go on this ruck and I need my map, my compass, all that. Well, now I have a pouch that's already empty that I can throw that into. I don't need to add more nylon to a kit I already have. Again, I like to run medical. Medical is a big thing for me. People get shot, nobody's invincible, so the faster you can stop somebody from bleeding out, the better. Down below, I have my Roll 1. This is a Hadley one. Again, more medical, gauze, needle Ds, all that good stuff down there. This Roll 1 does have the pull tabs where you can pull it out and use it, but that's it for the carrier. Moving on, we'll go ahead and hit up the belt. So this is the belt that I use most regularly. It's a belt that I used to use, tried some other things and came back to. This is the GBRS version 2. The reason I came back to it is they switched the way they do the Velcro. So most belts have the hard side of the Velcro on the outer belt, and then that's what faces your skin. And it can, I never really had any issues, but I did like the idea of when I take this belt on and off, if I don't align it exactly perfect every time, I'm not gonna have hard Velcro digging into my shirt or my skin or whatever it might be. And then their belt system also comes with the inner belt, and then it comes with a sheath that you can wrap around the hard Velcro on the inner belt and then use it as an EDC belt without the hard Velcro catching your shirt, tearing up your shirt. On the belt, on the little ring right here, I don't use this belt for any helicopter activity, so I don't need this D-ring for anything else other than these chem lights, which chem lights can be used for multiple reasons. It can be used for a light source. It can be used for when you're clearing rooms. You can use it to mark rooms that you engage somebody in, a room that's been cleared, a room that has contraband or whatever, which is why there's different color chem lights. But right here, it's the 100 Concepts chem light keeper, and basically it comes with the little wire loop that you put the chem lights on and the little protective sheath, which is elastic, and then it comes with these little bands that you put on the chem lights so you can stick your thumb in there, and then you pull down, rip it off the steel cable, and then you have access to your chem lights. Moving back, I run a Glock 17 with an RMR and then the TLR1 HL Streamlight. So for that, I have a Safariland holster with the QLS system. I love the QLS system just because I'm able to run multiple of my handguns, multiple different kinds of holsters, and I just switch them on and off, no problem. Real quick too, without having to slide on and off a holster from a whole belt system. On the holster, I have it sitting on the True North holster adapter. I found it to be the best just because it's super modular, and then rather than the Safariland one where you thread onto the belt, it only takes up about a molly square and a half of space, so it saves room on the belt. It's a rigid aluminum, so you never have to worry about like plastic pieces breaking. And then for my thigh strap is a T-Rex Arms one. I found it to be the best. Their V2 has the hole in it where you can thread the bottom screw of the holster through just to give that thigh strap a better ability to stay in place, because making sure your holster, especially for your pistol, is in the same spot every time. It's one of those things that isn't necessarily your primary, so you're not constantly using it, so you want to make sure it's where it's supposed to be when you need it, which kind of brings up that argument of rifles are primary, handguns are secondaries. I think all weapon systems are tools, because for me, when I board a ship, I don't climb up a ladder with my rifle at the ready. I switch to my handgun, and now all of a sudden my handgun has become my primary weapon system. So all these weapon systems are tools and should be treated as such, and not as like, oh, this is last resort, this could be my first resort. Really just depends on the situation. But moving on, back here I have a grenade pouch, not because I own grenades or have access to them, but you can store anything in there, from any little small item, your compass, snacks, whatever you want. Or if you do come across a grenade, you have a perfect spot to put it right there. Moving back from there, I have the LBT small IFAK, which you just mount it on there. It has a pull tab. You pull this pull tab, this cable comes out of it, and then in here I have all my medical on an insert that I could pull the insert out, and I have this board of my gauze, quick clot, all that. Behind there, I know I said don't worry about buying expensive knives, but I do have a Winkler. I got it in a trade from a buddy, and if somebody offers you a Winkler, you should never turn it down, because these truly are a beater knife, absolute workhorse. I've had zero issues with this. I've sharpened it once, and I'm pretty sure the guy that had it before me had it for years and actually used it for years, but this thing is still basically brand new. And for that Winkler, I just have it mounted right behind this IFAK on a Blade Tech quick attach mount. I was able to find a way to fit it right in the back there. Stays out of the way. I can reach back and access it. And I know it looks like all this stuff is kind of stacked on each other, but you have to remember this belt wraps around, everything starts spacing out once it's mounted. So next to that, I do have my dump pouch, Tier Tactical one. Dump pouches are dump pouches. Most people know what dump pouches are. You can store anything in them. empty mags, full mags, snacks, waters, so be it. But again, it's just something nice to have, just a place to, again, store things that you need to take off target and take with you to the target. It's just something that's kind of a necessity and something that's easy to store stuff in. And then most dump pouches are able to roll up and tuck out of the way. Next to it, I run an STAC, the shorty, and then I have it on, I can't remember the name of the company, but it's basically a drop down mount for your rifle mag, just because if this was mounted up here and I have my kit sitting on top of it and this mag is sticking out from it, this mag's going to start riding into my kit, and it's going to be either a mobility issue or trying to get it off a quick draw issue. So this just drops it down an inch and a half and helps give that clearance away from your kit, and it kind of angles it out and away, has a slight angle, so that mag is kind of sticking out just slightly, not anything crazy, but just enough where it's helping clear that kit for when you bend, and it gives you that gap in between your mag and your body for your kit to move around in. Then next to that, I just have the STAC double stack pistol mag pouches. Moving forward, I have the Soil Eater tourniquet pouch. Tourniquets will save your life. Normally, rule of thumb is carry one for each limb, but carry as many as you can comfortably. But I chose to go with the Soil Eater style. I know a bunch of people make it with the elastic now. Protecting the fabric of the tourniquet is a huge thing. If you run your tourniquets exposed to weather, sun, dirt, dust, start to deteriorate, and it becomes over time not as reliable as something that's been a little bit more protected. Also, I found that shock cord makes it real hard for these tourniquets to be deployed, but these sleeves allow it where it can just slide in and out no problem and doesn't get snagged up when somebody's life's on the line. That's my belt. We'll move on and run through the helmet real quick. All right, guys, for the helmet, I run a OpsCore SF Ballistic. I found it to be the most comfortable. I've ran a Wendy before. The OpsCore is just, it's incredible how light it is. I mean, without all this stuff on it, obviously, but I love the high cut on it, and I love the arc rails. That was kind of something that, jumping from, I think I started with hardhead veterans helmet, moved to the Team Wendy, and then I got the OpsCore one, and just the ability and the compatibility with a bunch of different attachments and things I can put on this helmet to make it fit whatever need I need. It's just super nice. I found with Wendy, I was always looking for, Team Wendy adapter, like all these adapters. And with OpsCore, seems like everybody makes their stuff with the arc rail in mind. So just something to think of when you're going to purchase a helmet is, what are you going to want to put on it? How easy is it? And how expensive is it going to be if you have to start buying all those adapters? Starting at the front, I run the Wilcox MVG mount on the front, but it's the breakaway mount from Wilcox. Breakaway doesn't sound good. Why would you ever want your nods to break away? But comes down to your training. You can lock these in. They only break away when you hit them into something extremely hard, as long as you don't push the wrong button. Wilcox is kind of the golden standard for everybody, I think. Moving back from there, I just have a helmet cover on this. I don't think it's anything special, just a helmet cover. Don't spend too much money on things that are gonna get abused and don't matter. This is the same helmet cover that and quality that you're gonna get from anyone. It's Velcro and it's fabric, and that's it. What I have on the helmet cover is I have a strobe on top. I think this is literally an Amazon strobe. I'm not gonna spend $500 for a strobe light when this one from Amazon, I believe, cost me maybe like $100, and it does exactly the same stuff. Maybe not as durable, but I haven't broken it yet doing the things I do with it, so works for me. And I can buy 5 of these before I buy one of the expensive ones. Moving to the side, I run the Peltors. I used to run amps with the amp arms. Amps are expensive, and I was able to sell my amps, buy these Peltors for half the cost of the OpsCores. And then one thing I do like now, having switched, I can pop these in and out and I can still hear all my comms and everything, where the amps don't have that ability. It's either all the way out elephant ears or all the way in. I'm okay with running the Peltors. Peltors still have the ability to run multiple radios if you need to. They're amazing. There's a reason they get used still. There's a reason they were used for the war that we had. These are the Contact 5s. I don't really put any major stress on the 5s, the 6s, the whatever. As long as it has that hearing capability and a comms capability and keeps my ears from getting blown out, then works for me. Moving back on the helmet, I run 2 V-lights. I run a red and a green. I haven't found any real use for it yet, but the reason I run red on the left, green on the right is kind of a naval thing. You always have a red light on your port side, a green light on your starboard side. So maybe for hiking at night or hiking in general, these things are bright. But if you're not in like a super high threat area, being able to spot your buddies around you. I mean, red lights are always better to use in the dark because it doesn't throw as far as the white light does. So hiking at night, doing rucks, whatever you're gonna do, I could turn on that red light and people can tell which direction I'm going if they know red's on the left, green's on the right. Back from there, I have a battery pack for my nods, which I've never had to actually use, but I did need a counterweight because nods are heavy. So rather than just buying weights and it having a singular use, I decided to go with the battery pack because it gives me that weight that I need. And then it also gives me extra batteries for my nods if that ever happened. And it also has an IR blinking device on the top when it's turned on. That's useful as well. Moving up a little bit from there, the nods are super heavy. So even though I do have this battery pack on here, I still run 2 weights that I Velcroed on there just to try and offset it a little bit more. Moving on to the inside, I swapped out the ops core retention system for the Wendy one. And then I switched out the pads for the 4D pads. These are like memory foam and make wearing a helmet, which is always uncomfortable, a little bit more pleasurable and manageable. All right, guys, that's it for my fighting loadout. If you have any questions or ideas or comments on anything, go ahead and drop a comment down below and Tyler will make sure that he gets back to you. And that's it for me. So here's Tyler.
Again, if you guys have any questions at all, make sure to shoot me a comment down below. I just thought it would be nice to kind of give you guys more ideas and more perspectives on people's kit and why they're running them the way they are. Again, it's always nice to see different perspectives. If you have any questions, make sure to shoot me a comment down below. Hope you enjoyed the video today and thank you for watching.